Wendy Rahamat and welcome to Indigenous Bites. This season it's all about food sustainability in Trinidad and Tobago, and this morning I am in Point Fortin and I'm just about to go visit an apiary of Mr. Fredrick and learn all about bees. But first up, I'm here as well with Mr. All Things Bee, Mr. Carrera, Mr. Sean Carrera. Thank you for being with us on the show. And Sean is a beekeeper, teacher of all things bees, and an entrepreneur as well. And Mr. Fredrick's garden, his home garden, is where we're actually shooting the show today.
Right.
And he's also been a client of the LEN program of Atlantic LNG.
Yes.
So you want to tell us a little bit about that program?
Well, the LEN, Atlantic LEN program is for people, entrepreneurs like myself and other beekeepers who want some money to invest in expanding their business, starting their business. And they also run courses, so it expands your mind, your mindset, changes your mindset, and prepare for that world of business.
So that we can be more sustainable in agriculture, fisheries, tourism in this southwestern peninsula and move away from the oil and gas industries, right? So it's a great initiative.
Yes, it is.
So I'm real excited now because we're going to go and get all suited up and we're going to head to Mr. Fredrick's apiary.
Fine.
It's going to be a busy morning.
Okay, let's get to it. So right now we're going to attempt to go into this box here, and basically the box is actually, the hive is composed of a super, as you can see right here, a brood box, a bottom board, an inner cover, and in this case we have a queen excluder. We took off the outer cover, which was the galvanized, just resting on top for the weathering and stuff like that. So our beekeeper, Roger, is going to help us and get inside. So he's breaking away the super from the brood box, smoking them, and he's going to put it separate apart. So now that he has done that, we can therefore now see the inner parts of a brood box made up of 10 frames here. These things on top here that you're seeing, this black thing, is actually propolis. This is what the bees use to seal their box and ensure that there's no growth of bacteria and fungus and all these other things. The frames are looking varnished because they use wax to varnish these frames. The wax from the bees themselves varnish those frames. So he's pulling up a brood frame right now. Okay, so this is a frame with seal brood. As you see, the caps are here, and if you see this yellow stuff there, those are actually bee pollen. You can see a bee with pollen on the leg here. You see that yellow? That's bee pollen. It's mixed up with the saliva of the bee and from the anthers, from the flowers, and that's called bee pollen. And then they would mix that pollen with honey and then store it inside the cells here. They call it bee bread at that point. You could also see this glistening liquid inside there. That is also nectar inside there right now, which is largely sucrose, 70 to 90% water. They eventually convert that into honey or use it out before they do actually.
What do we call a comb then?
This is a bee comb, right? This is a seal bee comb with brood on it. So it's a brood comb. In being specifically, they call it a brood comb. It's a seal brood comb. Okay, on a brood frame, of course. Let me show you something. This, remember, we had the frame before that you were seeing the.
Oh yes.
So that frame mostly had these cells. If you look into this frame here, you would see all the nectar. Okay. All the nectar, but what happened inside here, they're capping it.
That's already capped with the
Yeah, so what happened, they use the wax and they cap in the cells and
Wow.
right, so basically this is honey, right? So they're going to cap everything here and seal off everything, and this, what you have running down here, is basically the honey now. Right? As you can see, as it opens, they start drinking it back, right? They don't have that thing wasting at all. We are feeding the bees in a trough feeder. So it's basically a frame. Normally you have a wooden floor with a space so the bees can come up. In this case, we're using a cloth at the base. And that base is to maintain the air, the temperature inside the brood box, which is supposed to be about 32 degrees Celsius. And we have the sugar in this plastic bag that we open out on top here. This just basically gives the bee its carbohydrate requirement. Now the bees don't actually take this and make honey with. No way, right? Sucrose, no, definitely not, right? So they're going to just use this for their carbohydrate needs, their energy needs. Then what happens when the flow begins, or the honey flow actually comes in, and the bees are strong enough and they're taking honey, if you have feed, they would leave this and only take the nectar. So they don't actually use this until, well, there's no nectar in the atmosphere, in the environment.
Wow, Sean, that was pretty exciting. I've been wanting for years to get on apiary.
Glad you enjoyed it.
So thank you, and yeah, you have to have some guts not to think that those bees are going to fly all over you and sting you, right?
Once you know what you're doing, they're all right with you.
Thank you for protecting us.
You're welcome.
So we're going to make a honey cake today.
Okay.
So you ever made a cake with honey?
No, not really.
So
Talk
to us a little bit about what honey does to bake products.
All right, honey.
First up, I'll have some butter here.
Right. Now, honey, one of the, they say this, honey's nature is that it is hygroscopic. Means it can take moisture from the air. So it absorbs moisture real easily.
Right.
So, and you know, honey is also composed mostly of fructose and glucose.
Right. So it adds a lot of moistness to what we're making, right?
So honey has more sugar, it's 18% moisture, and has more sugar in it. So it takes moisture from the atmosphere, takes moisture from anything actually. That's what I mean when I say hygroscopic.
You want to break some eggs in there?
Sure.
So in the meantime, while you're doing that, I'm going to add some honey to my butter, and I'm going to start to beat that up. So you know, normally when you make a cake, you usually use sugar, but today I'm just using honey in this cake, and it's all honey, so we're going to add about a cup of honey to this. So that's good. And tell me about purity of honey on this island, because I know there's a lot of talk about honey not being real honey, mixed honey, contraband honey.
Honey on our island, if done the proper way or correct way, harvested and processed the proper way, really is one of the best honey in the world. In fact, we have won many prizes worldwide, internationally. Right? In England, when we used to take part in the shows, we'd always come away with commendations and winning stuff.
Add an egg for me?
Yep.
One at a time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Honey in Trinidad is generally of a mixed nature in that it has many flora and fauna all over Trinidad. Different flowers, different fruit, different seasons, and therefore the taste tends to differ from area to area, apiary to apiary, season to season.
So I'm not sure people are really conscious when they actually taste honey, that they can taste whatever the bees feed on. And I find that is so magical, because sometimes you would buy honey that tastes flat, because you kind of know that may not be real honey.
Yeah.
And then other times it may have a citrusy undertone. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, let's say what the international community know as exotic honey, in that you can't taste really one flavor. You might taste a predominant flavor. So if you're in an area with a lot of citrus, the citrus tends to come through. If you're in a season with a lot of pomerac, the pomerac tends to come through.
Right.
Or hot plum on that season, or soap vine, it comes through at that season. But in that predominant taste, it's also coupled with a number of other tastes from other shrubs that would be mixed in with that honey.
Can you want to add some baking soda to my flour now?
Right.
See how easy this cake is?
Well, it looks very, very simple actually.
So I've got some little bit of milk. I put some vinegar into to kind of sour it a bit. So I'm
Right.
going to put some Angostura bitters into that because I'm going to add some orange bitters, which is going to move very nicely with the flavor of the honey.
Right.
So I'm going to put some orange bitters into there.
Yeah. Every honey has its own unique taste, but it's
Right.
also, honey is actually acidic, right? So
Yeah,
there's a
man.
slight burning when you taste fresh honey in the back of your throat a little bit. And it's really good for you in that because of the acidic nature. You could take honey and put with lemon if you want to lose some weight.
You put it on your face as a mask.
You could put it as a mask, yeah, right, right.
I'm putting some cocoa bitters into here too,
Okay.
to give some nice depth of flavor as well.
So the unique flavor, every time you probably bake the cake, you may, depend on where you get the honey from, it might come out tasting a little different.
Yes.
It has some little proteins and stuff like that. When it goes through the baking process, it changes and cause the product that you're making to taste different.
Right. So talk to us about so the next time you go and you buy a bottle of honey, how do we know that it's real honey? That's a real problem, and I
Well,
think everyone
yes.
has that issue now because it's very topical.
Okay. Well, I mean,
So before that, I'm going to let you finish. We're just going to add the flour alternately with the milk, right?
okay.
Okay, so you pour a little bit of milk while I add the flour. So let's keep on the conversation with the how do we know it's real honey?
All right. In
That's good,
Trinidad,
thanks.
right. In Trinidad, we have beekeepers who actually go through the process and rearing bees and harvesting proper honey, and they don't mix anything, they don't adulterate it. And like any other where in the world, there are opportunists, right, who would take good honey and to stretch it and make more money. They just simply add high corn fructose syrup and basically stretch it.
So how do we know though?
All right. So one of the simple tests is just simply get a glass, clear glass, half filled with water, and pure honey. When you take about 2 teaspoons or so forth and just throw it down in the center of that glass. When it lands on the bottom, it will have a little mound before it flattens out. It'll be sustained. However, when it's adulterated with high corn fructose syrup or whatever, it goes flat one time.
Oh, I've heard people say put it into the freezer on a saucer and then take it out and
No.
pull a line, and if it folds up, it's
No.
real honey?
No, that you just change the viscosity, and honey in a freezer below 25 degrees Celsius goes into incipient crystallization, another thing altogether. So it isn't really a good way to test it. So that simple thing with just the water in the glass, the mound at the bottom, as I told you, is simple. I mean, you could also Google it on, the internet and stuff.
And something else, what about sustainability in this country with honey? Do we have enough beekeepers to hold the current demand?
Actually, we have enough beekeepers. However, enough businessmen, that is questionable. Because some of the beekeepers are businessmen and they do very well. It's very lucrative for them, right? We are at such a place right now. And we have beekeepers who have the skill and everything, and they don't do it as a proper business.
But we can, if we put our minds to it,
That is it.
comfortably feed our country with the demand.
Yes.
And export as well.
Well, not at this point in time, I won't go so far as exporting, but
export,
I
right,
know
but
that
we
we can
can.
sustain our current demands and needs.
That's great. And how many apiaries do you think we have on this island?
Well, it has been recorded at least actively over 500 or so.
So that sounds pretty sustainable to
Yes,
me.
once the threats are basically encroachment due to
Yeah.
urbanization developments. We have predators, two-legged, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They also now go into beekeepers, apiary, and rob and vandalize and steal. And then we have other areas where to get loans and stuff, you may have to have tenancy to land and stuff.
Right. A
And
little bit of politics,
it's a
like
little
with
bit of-
anything else. But we
right.
could do it, right?
Yes, we can.
So this is our batter, and we're here in this magical garden. So I'm going to put this into the magical oven, and we're going to come back and take a look at what the finished product looks like.
All right.
And Sean, this is our honey cake out of the oven. You can see it's
Looks
nice and
really
caramelized, and it's going to be a lot moister than a regular cake. So I'm going to dust this up with some ice and sugar.
Yes. Honey caramelizes, as you know, because
Right.
it's carbohydrates anyhow.
And we're getting the wind taking some of that ice and sugar away.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for giving us all this wonderful information and being such a wonderful host down in Point Fortin.
You're more than welcome.
Look forward to working with you again and doing some more exciting stuff. Thank you so much for viewing. And this is our delicious honey cake.